how to deal with failure in your professional life. It can be difficult if you felt like you failed on a macro level. Maybe you messed up a small project, maybe you made a mistake with a client, whatever it may be, or maybe you feel like you failed on a macro level. You made a big mistake in your job, maybe you lost your job, maybe you feel like you've taken the wrong path. Whatever it is, this video is going to help you solve some of those feelings and help you work through that failure that you may feel like. So in this video, I have my 3-step process that will be the same for micro or macro failures. It'll just be over a longer time horizon. So if you had a macro failure, you may work through these over a month or two. If you had a micro failure, you may be able to get through these with just in a day or even an hour. So with that being said, my name is Chris Richardson. I'm a coach here at Life on Your Terms, and I make these videos here, and especially this one, because I've dealt with this one. I've dealt with failures throughout my professional life, and I feel like these 3 steps have been very helpful for me to be able to work through these things so that I don't dwell on them as long as I used to. So again, I promise you by the end of this video, you will understand more about that. So the first step in accepting failure in your personal life, whether it be big or small failure, is to accept and reflect the failure. So the first step is to acknowledge that you failed with whatever it is, but you didn't fail. I should rephrase that. You didn't lose, you just failed. That's okay, you messed up, but you didn't lose. The only way you lose is if you quit. If you just decide, I'm done with this, I'm gonna move to a completely separate thing that is not what I want to do, it's not part of my true north, then you've lost. But you've just failed in this instance. And then remember that every time you can change. If you have a micro failure where you messed up with a client, you can change with the next client. If you have a macro failure, you lost your job, you can use this as fuel to be that much better next time. And I know how hard it may feel right now, but again, you can use this as fuel. And the really cool part about this is it'll make it a better story when you are successful. When you do work through these things and when you become successful, you can look back at these times, you can be like, do you remember the time that I totally bombed that interview and lost the job, or I made a total mix-up and I lost the job, or I lost the client, or I got so angry at my boss that I cussed him out and I lost my job, but now look how great I am now. I'm so emotionally controlled. I'm so diligent because of my past mistakes. If you can look at it that way and use it as fuel to create your better story, it's amazing. That can be very helpful. So after you've acknowledged you feel, you need to analyze what happened objectively, not with your emotions. Try to remove your emotions. So ask yourself, if you're telling your best friend this story, what advice would they give you? Because they have no emotions in it. Obviously, they want to make sure you're okay, but they have no emotions in the situation. So try to analyze it like you were your best friend. Look at objectively like, oh, you know what? I wasn't diligent enough there. Even though I was dealing with all this emotional stuff with my kids, my relationship, whatever, I wasn't diligent enough here. Looking at it objectively can help you understand how to learn from it, because then you need to learn from your experiences. You understand, okay, what do I need to do to change to become better? And I actually have a story about this. So I lost actually 2 clients because one client, I don't think I worked hard enough. I don't think I worked hard enough to get him the results he needed. And I lost the client because of that. So then after that, I had to work that much harder for my future clients to make sure that was never the reason. And then again, the second client, I wasn't diligent enough with times. I messed up time zones, and I also completely forgot about our sessions. What did it do? It pushed me to put systems in place to make sure that never happens again. And it hasn't. I haven't messed up times, and I've been very diligent about making sure every session is written down, and I make sure I am there every time. Simple stuff, but in the beginning, it was a big learning curve for me. So maybe you have things like that. It's about understanding and learning from the experiences. That's the first step, is acceptance and reflection. The second step is to seek feedback and support. For me, talking about the issues tends to help. So with those 2 clients that I had lost, I talked about it with my partner, and I talked about it with my mentor. And with my mentor, it was more of a strategy and a business side of the conversation. With my partner, there were still elements of strategy and business, but it was more my emotions, why I feel this way, and working through those. And she was a lot of help. So working through those things and talking through them helps me. From there, I asked for feedback from my mentor and from my partner. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think I need to do to improve? I have an idea, but also I might have some blind spots, so I just want you to throw it at me. Ask for the feedback, and again, whether it's a micro failure or a macro failure, this works. If you really messed up, this process will be helpful to seek feedback and seek support. Or maybe you just messed up with a client. This is something a little more simple. This will help as well. Now, once you've asked for feedback, once you've talked about it, then you can ask yourself, what training do you need to do to get back, to make that better story, as we talked about? What training do you need? What experiences do you need to put into place so this never happens again? That is the goal of this. We mess up, we fail, and we try to make sure it never happens again. And try to, through acceptance, through reflection, through seeking feedback, through support, you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I make sure I never have this happen again? Because that leads us to the final point, which is rebuilding and moving forward. You've identified what you've done wrong, you've talked about it, you've worked through it, you look at what experiences you've needed, and now it's time to create new goals with a new mindset, with new action, new small wins. You create the new goals. Okay, for me, I'm never gonna miss a session again, and I'm never gonna mess up time zone again. That's my new goal. My new mindset is that I have the identity of the person who makes sure they are on time and makes sure they are diligent. So what's your identity? What's your mindset? What's my new action? My new action is I need to write down every single session I have. I need to make sure I'm double checking the time zones. And then my new small wins. My new small wins is that I make sure that I take that action every time I have a new client. I make sure that I'm always diligent. I'm putting it on my calendar and making sure I'm there. So you identify, what are your new goals? What's your new mindset? What's your new action? And what's your new small wins? And once you have that, you're gonna feel really good about the failure you may have had and how to move on from that to create yourself a better story. So with that being said, if you enjoyed that video, check out the balance wheel in the description below, because that can help you with your professional life. But on top of that, it's gonna look at your relationships, it's gonna look at your health, it's gonna look at your resources, because those are all related. Also, if you like these videos, hit that like and subscribe button, because it really helps the channel.